Hi everyone, my name is Yael, and I'm incredibly honored to be speaking today at this symposium in honor of Wei Jima's scientific achievements in community building. As you know, Wei Ji is a prolific and creative researcher. He's well known for his originality, his conceptual clarity, and his computational rigor. But today I'm not going to speak about his research. I'm going to speak about his wider contribution to our community and to making the world a better place. Wei Ji's community building efforts are numerous, they're diverse, and they're inspiring. They include multiple innovations in mentoring efforts within his university and other universities, as well as working with the general public in many ways that you'll hear about from others. I'm going to highlight one specific contribution which has had far-reaching implications, and that is the Growing Up in Science mentoring series. So this is a series that Wei Ji has pioneered and personally spread to departments around the world. In a Growing Up in Science seminar, faculty members tell their personal story to students and postdocs, emphasizing the difficulties they faced and how they overcame them. This helps trainees realize that most paths to an academic career are winding and they're full of potholes. Most faculty got to where they are by navigating uncertainties, setbacks, feelings of imposter syndrome, and multiple insecurities. And also as part of a team effort supported by colleagues and mentors. None of us can do it alone. This reality is not the one that's visible when you read someone's CV, which is all about what I achieved without this important backstory. So the goal is to convey to trainees that even if they themselves are facing doubts and difficulties, that doesn't mean they can't succeed in academia. To the contrary. A second byproduct of these seminars is that they help make faculty more human, more accessible, less scary, and less imposing. So trainees can request and receive higher quality mentoring as a result of the seminar. So what happens is when trainees realize that professors who seem so successful and so out of reach actually got to where they are now through paths that have a lot in common with their own experience, they're better able to share their difficulties and receive advice from their advisors and from other faculty in their department. Wei Ji has extremely generously presented his own Growing Up in Science story in over 40 universities to date. He offers to present a Growing Up in Science series whenever he's invited to give a science seminar. And he has made resources available online on how to start your own series. So Growing Up in Science has now been replicated in more than 30 other universities, including my own universities, and it's led by an international team of organizers who are supported by Wei Ji and their ongoing work. In the past year and a half, in the COVID-19 pandemic, Wei Ji took this series one step forward and founded the Global Growing Up in Science series. So this series includes Growing Up in Science talks that are curated from faculty with special stories to tell. And these stories are told on Zoom, open to researchers around the world, and attracting hundreds of attendees in each event. The main focus of this series is a focus that Wei Ji has had in Growing Up in Science and in his other community building endeavors that you'll hear about from others, and that is a focus on diversity, inclusion, and identity. So speakers are specifically chosen to represent a wide array of backgrounds and experiences. And in that way, this series provides role models and success stories for those who can't necessarily find them locally. Wei Ji is a community builder, so he does not want to impose his own perspective to the inclusion of other people. So in organizing this Global Growing Up in Science series, he recruited two others, myself and Veronica Carafini, to organize and run this series. And finally, as part of the global series, he started a sub-series focused on mentoring that he has asked me to run and that I want to give you a little bit more detail on. So in the first global seminar on mentoring, we asked 4 questions of people around the world. The first question is, if this applies to you, please fill in the blank. My advisor is generally a good mentor, but blank. And the third question is, what structural changes do you think are needed to improve mentorship in academia? I'm talking about these two because these are the ones that we ended up focusing on in this first seminar. We got more than 350 answers and put together a first panel to discuss the replies, committing immediately to a series of events because we realized that one event is not going to do it and the need was huge. So the first panel focused on answers to the first question: my advisor is generally a good mentor, but... And there were lots of answers here. There are many, many ways to screw up the mentoring relationship, and we've all erred and will err on some of these. So to discuss some of these pitfalls and what trainees can do if they're in these situations, we divided the answers to 11 subgroups of problematic mentoring and discussed them. So I'm not going to discuss those 11 right now. That was a whole hour-and-a-half seminar, which you can find the recording and the slides of the event and the list of all the answers on www.growingupinscience.org. But I want to mention that this series really dovetailed with the focus on diversity, inclusion, and identity, because the lack of good mentorship kept coming up as one main hurdle to the success of trainees that come from backgrounds that are underrepresented and underprivileged in academia. These are the exact backgrounds and trainees that many institutions are now trying to recruit, but we're not yet providing good training opportunities for people from these diverse backgrounds because most mentors don't come from those backgrounds themselves. So apart from identifying common problems in mentoring, as I said, from the ideas that we got from the many who answered our questions, we also asked them, what are the systemic solutions that you think could help better the situation? And so we derived a list of ideas for how to improve mentoring and how to improve the experience of trainees in academia. And we've been slowly following up on this long and incredible list. And the idea that I want to discuss here today, which I completely credit Weiji for sowing, because without the Global Growing Up in Science series, this would not have happened, is the idea of developing a formal mentoring training course for faculty and for future mentoring. So indeed, together with my colleague, Laura Murray at Princeton's McGraw Center for Teaching and Learning, last semester, we developed a full semester course on mentoring best practices. We taught this course to advanced graduate students and postdocs, the mentors of tomorrow. And this summer, we're teaching it again to 19 faculty who represent 18 different universities. And the hope is that these faculty will then teach, not only be better mentors themselves, but also teach similar courses in their departments to postdocs and advanced graduate students. Of course, you won't be surprised to hear that Weiji is one of the first cohort of students in this class and is planning to teach a similar course at NYU. So this is a syllabus of the 7-week course for faculty, and the course includes both reading materials and formal classes. The formal classes include role plays and other activities that promote active learning. And then alongside, we have weekly mentoring circles. These are 1-hour meetings in which a small group of mentors receive peer mentoring from their colleagues and can crowdsource ideas on how to implement what they learned in class in the specific situations that they encounter in their own lab. So as we're inspired by the Growing Up in Science mentoring series and by Weiji and his ideas of propagating to the world every success that he achieves in community building, our goal here is to eventually make the course materials available online in a way that allows small groups of faculty or trainees to form a mentoring circle and take the course together. We realize that we can all use some training and mentoring. It's such an important part of our academic work. And unfortunately, best intentions are not the same as best practices. So hopefully, with this course, we can improve the experience of mentees wherever they are. So I want to finish by thanking Weiji for the amazing influence he has had, and obviously will have in the future, on our field and on me personally. Weiji is effectively, in my view, moving us away from an individualistic sink-or-swim, publish-or-perish mindset that upholds and propagates a white supremacy culture where only some feel welcome, to a community-oriented, supportive focus that appreciates the unique contributions that each individual has to bring to the group and each person's different ways of knowing and being. So thank you, Weiji.